Greetings aspirants. Welcome to the Daily Current Affairs by Civic Center IAS, where we try to discuss important and relevant articles from the Hindu, Indian Express and the PIB. These are the list of articles we are going to discuss today. Coming to the first article, a Kerala woman was sentenced to death this week for 2022 murder of her boyfriend. She used Paraquat, a toxic material and one of the world's most used herbicides. So now in this context, let's discuss about Paraquat. To begin with, Paraquat, also known as Paraquat dichloride or methyl violagen, is a widely used herbicide. Furthermore, it controls weed growth and desiccates crops before harvest. In addition, it is classified as a Category 2 chemical by WHO. Globally, Paraquat is banned in over 70 countries including China and the European Union. However, it remains widely used in India and the US. Looking at its toxicity and health hazards, in terms of human impact, even a small accidental sip of Paraquat can be fatal, as noted by the US EPA. Moreover, it has been linked to health issues, including potential links to Parkinson's diseases. As for the routes of poisoning, ingestion is the most common, although prolonged skin contact and inhalation also are possible. Looking at its symptoms of poisoning, the severity of symptoms depends on the amount and exposure. In the case of smell ingestion, it can cause damage to heart, kidneys, liver, and lungs over days or weeks. On the other hand, large ingestion leads to acute kidney failure, heart failure, liver damage, seizures, and respiratory failure. Immediate signs of poisoning and include abdominal pain, throat swelling, bloody diarrhea, and nausea. And what's the treatment for Paraquat poisoning? Unfortunately, there is no antidote for Paraquat poisoning. However, immunosuppression or charcoal hemoperfusion may be used as a treatment. In terms of immediate response, activated charcoal or Fuller's earth can be used to absorb the chemical. Additionally, washing the skin with soap and water can help to remove the contamination. Furthermore, contaminated clothing should be removed and discarded immediately. Looking at its regulation and usage in India, with regard to regulation, Paraquat is governed under the Insecticides Act 1968 by the Central Insecticides Board and Registration Committee, Ministry of Agriculture. It is approved for the use on various crops, including wheat, rice, tea, coffee, potato, grapes, maize, rubber, and apple. Additionally, it is approved for controlling weeds like bulrush, water thymes, and water hyacinth in waterways. However, there are significant challenges. Unregulated use, as it is often sold without prescriptions and stored accessibly. Improper application, as farmers often handle it manually without protective gear. Moreover, a lack of training leads to unsafe practices as farmers ignore label instructions. Coming to the next article, the Jammu and Kashmir government has launched the Tree Aadhar mission for the conservation of region's Chinar trees, which have been dwindling in numbers over the years. This initiative involves conducting a census of Chinar trees and giving a unique identity of each of them. So, now in this context, let's discuss about Chinar tree. What is Chinar tree? See, the scientific name of Chinar tree is Platanus orientalis, and looking at its physical features, a maple-like tree with a large canopy. It grows up to 30 meters in height and it is girth of 10 to 15 meters. Additionally, it matures in 30 to 50 years and reaches full size in 150 years. Looking at its habitat, it is found in cool climates with sufficient water, especially in the eastern Himalayas. And looking at the origin of its name, it has a connection with the Mughal. It is likely named by Mughal Emperor Jahangir. The name is derived from the Persian phrase Chinar Tree, meaning what flame is that, inspired by its crimson red leaves in autumn. Furthermore, it was considered a royal tree by Mughals. And looking at the contributions by the Mughals, for example, Jahangir established a Chinar garden in Nasim Bagh on the banks of Dal Lake with 1100 trees. In addition, he planted Chinar trees on an island in Dal Lake known as Char Chinari, 4 Chinars. And looking at its cultural and historical importance, as a result, it was declared the state tree of Jammu and Kashmir, now a union territory. And during the autumn season, the tree leaves transform into crimson red and golden hues, which attract numerous visitors. And moreover, the Chinar tree features prominently in Kashmiri art, literature, and crafts such as papier-mâché, embroidery, carpets, and wood carvings. Looking at its religious significance, it is often found near many Muslim and Hindu shrines in the valley. In fact, the oldest known Chinar tree, which is 700 years old, is in Chatargam village, Budgam, planted by a Sufi saint. And what are the conservation efforts by the government? In order to cut a Chinar tree, government permission is required, even on private property. However, illegal felling of trees remains an ongoing issue. Coming to Chinar tree conservation project, in terms of census, 28,560 Chinar trees have been geotagged out of an estimated 32,000 to 33,000 trees in Jammu and Kashmir. Nonetheless, some trees in no-go areas remain untagged. Moreover, the Tree Aadhaar project assigns a unique ID to each tree with geotagging. Additionally, QR codes on trees provides detailed data on 25 parameters including location, age, height, girth, branches, health and canopy size, and also eco threats faced by the tree. Coming to the next article, Union Minister of New and Renewable Energy Sri Prahlad Joshi said that PM Surya Ghar Bijli Yojana aims to empower people by making citizens energy producers as well as enabling them to earn extra income by selling electricity to discoms. So, now in this context, let's discuss about PM Surya Ghar Bijli Yojana. See, the mission was launched on February 15, 2024, and the main objective of the mission is to aim to be the largest domestic rooftop solar initiative providing free electricity through rooftop solar panels to 1 crore households by March 2027. And looking at its implementing agency, it will be implemented by the Ministry of New and Renewable Energy. And the key features of the scheme include subsidy support. A subsidy up to 40% will be provided based on monthly electricity consumption, which are 0 to 150 units provides 30,000 to 60,000, and 150 to 300 unit provides 60,000 to 78,000, and above 300 units provides 78,000 or more. And looking at its collateral free loans will be available up to 3 kilowatts capacity at a 7% of interest, ensuring affordability. And saving and income generation, the household will be benefited by saving on electricity bills and can earn revenue by selling surplus power to discoms. For example, a 3 kilowatt system generates around 300 units per month, creating energy and potential revenue. And looking at its digital application process, applications can be submitted online through the national portal, which features such as vendor ratings, system size recommendations, and benefits calculator. And coming to the Model Solar Village Initiative, the focus of this initiative is establish one model solar village per district to promote energy self-reliance. Eligibility is based on revenue villages with a population over 5,000 or 2,000 in special category states. Each selected village will receive financial support of 1 crore rupees with a total allocation of 800 crores. Coming to the next article, on the eve of Republic Day 2025, the Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment organized a special program to honor 400 students from 21 states across the country. These students are beneficiaries of the PM Young Achiever Scholarship Award Scheme for Vibrant India. It was launched to empower students from the OBC, EBC and DNT communities educationally, socially and economically. So, now in this context, let's discuss about PM YASASVI Scheme. The PM YASASVI Scheme consolidates earlier initiatives such as Dr. Ambedkar Post-Matric and Pre-Matric Scholarship Schemes. Launched in 2021 to 2022, it aims to support the educational needs of socially and economically disadvantaged students from OBC, EBC and DNT categories by integrating several scholarships into a streamlined program. Looking at its objective, the scheme promotes the educational empowerment by helping students from marginalized communities to overcome financial barriers. Its goal is to create a more inclusive and equitable society through educational support for individual academic growth. Looking at its benefits, the scheme offers comprehensive financial support, covering tuition fees, hostel expenses, and educational materials for students at both school and college levels. And it aims to break down the systematic barriers and foster inclusivity, thus contributing to personal and societal progress. Looking at the eligibility and the application process, this scheme is open to OBC, EBC and DNT students with a total annual family income of up to 2.5 lakh. Selection is based on the SSV entrance test conducted by the National Testing Agency. Applications can be submitted online at National Scholarship Portal. Coming to the next article, Vice President Jagdeep Dhankar's recent statement that party whips curtail an MP's freedom of expression by enforcing a party line has sparked a debate. Why should there be a whip? Whip means you are curtailing expression, curtailing freedom, and subjecting your representative to servility. You do not allow such a person to use his or her mind, Dhankar had told a group of students at his residence on January 23rd. So, now in this context, let's discuss about the whip system in India. The whip system in India, which is deeply embedded in the parliamentary processes, ensures the discipline and cohesion of political parties in legislative bodies. As a result, this system holds significant importance for the functioning of parliamentary democracy, particularly during crucial votes. Looking at its origin and the historical background, the term whip has its origin in the English hunting tradition. A whipper was responsible for managing stray hounds. Later, the concept was adopted in parliamentary context. The term in politics was popularized by Edmund Burke, a prominent Anglo-Irish politician and philosopher, who used it to describe efforts to keep MPs aligned with the party decisions during votes. And looking at the whip system in India, the whip system in India traces its roots to the early days of its parliamentary history. In essence, the system serves to ensure party discipline during crucial votes, and the party's whip informs MPs about critical votes and instructs them to either vote in line with party policies or to be present for the vote. Looking at the types of whips, there are three types of whips issued by political parties. First one line whip, a general notice asking MPs to be present for a vote, but it does not mandate how they should vote. And two line whip requires MPs to be present and attend the vote, though it does not specify voting preferences. And lastly, three line whip, the strictest form, mandating MPs to be present and vote in accordance with the party line. Failure to compile can lead to disciplinary actions, including disqualification as per the anti-defection law. Coming to the next article, the Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Scheme, the Union government's flagship scheme to provide guaranteed employment of 100 days for rural workers, has not received an additional budgetary allocation in 2024 to 2025, despite a deficit resulting in delay in dispersal of wages of workers. So, now in this context, let's talk about MGNREGA. The Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Scheme is one of the largest work guarantee programs in the world, which was launched in 2005 by the Ministry of Rural Development. The primary objective of the scheme is to guarantee 100 days of employment in every financial year to adult members of any rural household willing to do public work related unskilled manual work. Additionally, Panchayat Raj institutions will implement the program. And person days under MGNREGA are defined as the total amount of work days by a person registered under the scheme in a financial year. Looking at its objectives, the scheme aims to enhance the livelihood security of the rural people by creating wage employment opportunities. Moreover, it seeks to develop a rural asset base to boost productive employment, augment of household income, and sustain economic well-being. Looking at its features, the Act grants a legal right to employment for adult members of rural households, with at least 1/3 of beneficiaries being women. In case work is not assigned within 15 days, the applicant is entitled to receive an unemployment allowance. This allowance is 1/4 of the minimum wage for first 30 days and a half of the following period. Furthermore, Gram Sabhas recommend and oversee at least 50% of the projects. Lastly, there is cost sharing between the central government and state for wages, material and administrative expenses. Coming to the next article, 2 years after a study flags the epidemic dropsy threat, a new research paper has identified a life-threatening fungal infection, mostly in the damaged lungs of tuberculosis survivors among Assam's tea plantation workers. A team of researchers from the Assam Medical College and Hospital in Dibrugarh has now put the focus on chronic pulmonary aspergillosis, an infection caused by Aspergillus fumigatus, a fungus that strikes individuals with immunodeficiency. TB has been a major public health issue across the tea belts in Assam's Brahmaputra and Barak valleys, afflicting 217 per 1 lakh population, according to the National TB Prevalence Survey of 2019 to 21. The risk factors include poverty, poor nutrition, kitchen smoke, close contact with smear-positive patients, and living in congested environments. So, now in this context, let's talk about TB, tuberculosis. Tuberculosis is an infectious disease that most often affects the lungs and is caused by a type of bacteria. It spreads through the air when infected people cough, sneeze, or spit. Fortunately, tuberculosis is preventable and curable. About a quarter of the global population is estimated to have been infected with TB bacteria. Looking at the common symptoms of TB, prolonged cough, chest pain, weakness, fatigue, weight loss, fever, night sweats. These are the symptoms, and the symptoms people get depend on where in body TB becomes active. While TB usually affects the lungs, it also affects the kidneys, brain, spine, and skin. And looking at the India's efforts in tackling the TB, India has undertaken various initiatives to combat TB such as Pradhan Mantri TB Mukt Bharat Abhiyan, National Strategic Plan for Tuberculosis Elimination, TB Harega Desh Jitega campaign, Nikshay Poshan Yojana, in which India aims to eliminate TB by 2025, 5 years ahead of the global target. Looking at the summary of the research findings, the new research on the fungal infection. A life-threatening fungal infection, chronic pulmonary aspergillosis, has been identified in the tea plantation workers in Assam. CPA mostly affects damaged lungs of tuberculosis survivors and shares symptoms with TB. And looking at the epidemic dropsy context, epidemic dropsy is caused by edible oils contaminated with oil from Argemon mexicana, a Mexican poppy. Coming to the next article, on January 7th, Shanti Devi was attacked by a tiger meters away from her home at Okaldunga Inte, Ramnagar Forest Division of Corbett Tiger Reserve in Uttarakhand. Villagers say that 47 years old was on a tree cutting leaves for her house and was climbing down when the tiger caught her by the foot. Around 5:30 pm, her husband found her decapitated body and her sandals in the shrubs. So now in this context, let's talk about Corbett Tiger Reserve. The Corbett Tiger Reserve is situated in the foothills of Himalayas, Uttarakhand. It is spread across 3 districts, Pauri, Nainital and Almora. And in 1936, it was established as a Haley National Park, the first national park in India. Later, in 1957, it was renamed as Corbett National Park in honor of Jim Corbett, a naturalist and conservationist. The park is well known for its hosting the endangered Bengal tiger. It was the first site where Project Tiger was launched in 1973. Looking at its geography and terrain features, the landscape, the park is spread across the Bhadar and lower Shivalik regions, characterized by a deep water table. Additionally, it features porous tracts with boulders and sand deposits. Looking at the major rivers include Ramganga, Palyan and Sonandi. And looking at the flora, the vegetation types includes the forests are predominantly salt forests and mixed forest, interspersed with the grasslands and riparian vegetation. The grasslands, locally known as chaur, are a result of abandoned settlements or clearings. The ridges are dominated by evergreen sal, sesame and kanju trees. And the major challenges is widespread presence of the lantana weed in the reserve. Looking at its fauna, the park is home to tigers and elephants and other mammals too, which include co-predators such as leopards and small carnivores. And ungulates found here include sambar, hog deer and spotted deer. And reptiles such as gharials and crocodiles can be found in the reserve. Additionally, fishes are found in the rivers and water bodies. Coming to the next article, the number of cases of Guillain-Barré Syndrome, a rare neurological disorder, crossed the 100 mark in Pune on Sunday. One suspected GBS death was also reported from Solapur. Initial unconfirmed reports hinted at the possibility of the victim having contracted the infection in Pune and later traveled to Solapur. So, now in this context, let's discuss about Guillain-Barré Syndrome. The Guillain-Barré Syndrome is a rare neurological disorder where the body immune system attacks peripheral nerve cells, and it is characterized by muscle weakness, difficulty in breathing, and paralysis in severe cases. Furthermore, damage to the myelin sheath disrupts nerve signals transmissions. And looking at the early symptoms, which include tingling sensation, weakness starting in the legs, difficulty in walking, unsteady movements, facial weakness, pain, and in extreme cases, total paralysis. Looking at the causes of the infection, the exact cause is unknown. However, it often develops after infections like cytomegalovirus, Epstein-Barr virus, Zika virus, Campylobacter, or COVID-19. Rarely it is linked to vaccinations due to immune responses to pathogens-like structures in the vaccines. Looking at the immune system malfunctions by this virus, the immune antibodies mistakenly attack the myelin sheath due to the mimicry by the pathogens. And looking at the treatment and recovery, there is no definitive cure, but treatments to manage and reduce symptoms include plasmapheresis, which is plasma exchange, remove of harmful antibodies from the blood, and immunoglobulin therapy. Healthy antibodies from donors block harmful antibodies, and physical therapy for pain relief and functional of recovery. And looking at the global context of GBS outbreaks, in French Polynesia 2012 to 2014, the GBS cases surged following Zika virus infections. And in 2019 in Peru, the previous outbreak was linked to Campylobacter. Coming to the next article, a federal judge last week temporarily blocked US President Donald Trump's executive order aimed at curtailing the right to birthright citizenship in the United States. The development came while Seattle-based US District Judge John Kaufner was hearing a suit filed by the 4 Democratic-led states Washington, Arizona, Illinois, and Oregon, which had sought to block the order before it could take effect in the late February. The states urged that the order was a blatant violation of the Constitution 14th Amendment, which guarantees citizenship to all children born on US soil. So, now in this context, let's talk about the birthright citizenship in India, looking at its constitutional framework. A debate rose among the framers. The opposition, P.S. Deshmukh, urged against birthright citizenship, calling it too lenient and a potential problem for national security. And in its support, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar and Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel supported it, ensuring its inclusion in the Constitution. And looking at the Article 5th of the Constitution, recognized that every person born in Indian territory before the commencement of the Constitution would be a citizen of India. And looking at the legislative provisions, the Citizenship Act 1955, Section 3 granted birthright citizenship to all the individuals born in India after January 26, 1950. And the exceptions include children of foreign diplomats, children of enemy aliens born in areas under enemy occupation. And looking at the amendments to the Citizenship Act, it was first amended in 1986, introduced to address concerns over migration from Bangladesh, Sri Lanka and some African countries. Citizenship by birth was restricted for them, and a child born after the amendment would be a citizen only if at least one parent was an Indian citizen. And another time it was amended in 2003. Citizenship by birth further restricted. A child would not be a citizen at birth if one parent was an illegal immigrant at the time of birth. So, today in total we have discussed 10 articles. Tomorrow we will be back again with another video. Thank you.